Simplify all the way. The square root of 32 over 15. With this problem, we have a fraction inside the radicand, so we have to remember what do we do with that. So we're going to go to Brooke and Sophia. Here are Brooke and Sophia's most recent reminders. Keeping in mind the radicand cannot be a fraction. The radicand is a number inside the radical symbol. Also, the radicand cannot have a perfect square factor other than 1. And lastly, when simplifying radicals, there cannot be a radical in the denominator. So if there's a fraction involved, that bottom number can't have a radical. Brooke and Sophia were also nice enough to list for you the first 20 perfect squares, which will help us remembering rule number 2. And then lastly, they have given us the 2 reminders that if we take 2 numbers that are being square rooted that are getting times together, that's the same thing as taking the 2 numbers multiplied together inside 1 square root. So basically just multiply those numbers and keep them under 1 radical. And lastly, the square root of any number getting squared is just that number. This works for any variable and any number. So the square root of c squared is just c. Thank you, Brooke and Sophia. Thank you, ladies. So because this is a fraction, then we know we're not allowed to have that as a fraction. We have to break that apart. And so when we break that apart, I can go ahead and I can just put a radical on the top and then a radical on the bottom. However, this causes a new problem because of rule number 3 says there cannot be a radical in the denominator. And so my denominator of square root 15 is illegal. So what we do, again, to get rid of that is we need to take this fraction and we need to multiply it by some value. When I multiply, though, I can't change the value of what I have here, so I can multiply by 1 and it will still give me the same value. So I'm going to multiply by 1, but when I work with a fraction, I can make a fraction have a value of 1 by having the numerator and the denominator be the same number. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom of this fraction by what my denominator is. So I'm going to multiply by square root 15 over square root 15. Same number on top as I have on bottom. This is a value of 1. Multiplying 1 by anything leaves me that anything. So this doesn't change the value. What I'm going to do is change the look of it. I chose square root 15 as my multiplier because when I have on my denominator square root 15 times square root 15, that's going to give me what we have down here is it's just simply going to cancel those out. The square roots are going to cancel each other out, and I'm just left with the fraction 15 on the bottom, just the number 15 on the bottom. On the top, I'm going to take my 32, I'm going to times that by 15, that number gets placed inside 1 radical symbol. So now I have square root 480 over 15. Notice the square root symbol is gone. So I've taken care of rule 1, I've taken care of rule 3, however rule 2, I have to do something about this. I cannot have any perfect square factors other than 1. So what I'm going to do with my number 480 is I'm going to look on my list here and I'm going to find the first number I see that's less than 480. So in this case, number 400, and I'm going to ask myself, can I evenly divide 480 by this number? I'm going to keep going and I'm going to keep going one less and one less until I finally find a number that I can in fact divide 480 by evenly and break that 480 up. 16 is the first number I can evenly divide 480 by, and I can do 16 times 30 to get 480. So notice that I now have the square root of 16 times 30 on the top. I'm not doing anything on the bottom here. I want to break this apart because I know that the square root of 16 is going to give me the value of 4. So I can take that 4, pull it out front, but since 30 does not have any perfect square factors, I'm just going to leave that as square root 30. My final answer for this problem is now 4 square root 30 over 15.